This week we are talking about mistakes, and there's a good reason for that. Last week I showed you my beaded knitted sweater, and some of you in the comment section were a little bit smarter than I was and saw what was going to happen. Yes. I was knitting a beaded sweater. I was using the Monday sweater by Petite Knit. I was using Drops Daisy in the color Marzipan, and I was using all these colorful children's beads that came in a big box, very brightly neon colored. And I had received that box for Christmas from my 10-year-old son. So I was very, very excited to make this sweater. Unfortunately, there are 3 problems. Problem number 1 is that it became very heavy very quickly. Now this is because, one, the beads were quite big and heavy in themselves. The other reason was that I was using quite a lot of them. I wanted to have like a really full sort of effect. And also I was only adding the beads to the front section. My thinking was, if I add them to the sleeves and the back, it'll be uncomfortable when I'm sitting down or when I'm like trying to put on my coat or something, if I'm going somewhere. So I was only putting them on the front section, which meant that the front section got super heavy of that sweater. So the second problem was that I was actually adding the beads in the wrong way. There are different methods you can use to add beads to a knitted sweater, and I just made something up. I didn't look into how you what a good method is. So this is what I was doing last time. I would just grab a bead and then grab it, move it to the front, and then sort of hold it in place, move the yarn back, then knit with it, and then it would be like that. So let me just do that again. I would, hang on, that's the hair living there. This is the thing though, if you have long hair like I do, you eventually just start knitting it into your work. Get out of here. There we go. Okay, so knit, and then grab a bead, pull it back again, and then I would just kind of pull it tight like that. The problem here is that, one, it can just pop through the back, whoop, and then you've lost your bead, which is, well, really annoying. It's not what you want. But they also were just situated weirdly. They would kind of lie flat like this, or I don't know. Anyway, so knit. What are you really supposed to be doing is you grab a bead. Where are you? Here we go. Move it to the front. Slip a dam stitch. Move it to the back. Knit. This is obviously way better because it's always situated like this and you can't pop it to the back, and you can see it's much more sturdy and straight. So what do we do in the correct method? Well, we'll do it again. Move your yarn with the bead to the front, slip a stitch, move it to the back, knit. Et voila. Good and not so good. I hope that's visible. Good, not good. There was like a third issue, and the third issue is really I liked the yarn too much. I was knitting the sweater, and whenever I got to the back side that had no beads, every time I was thinking, oh, this looks really nice, and I wish the whole sweater was like this, because it was turning into this sort of sweatshirt type sweater that you know, something quick and easy that you can just, you know, wear all the time, very casual. I was like, oh, that's like so nice to have something like that. And now I'm just making this crazy beaded sweater, which is also making me happy while I'm knitting it. But will it make me happy when I'm wearing it, when it's very heavy, when I've done it in a way that's not very nice looking? So yeah, I had to make a decision, and eventually the decision was that I frogged it. Frogging your sweater is always hard, but it was becoming extra annoying with all these beads. I had all these beads, I was unraveling the yarn, I put everything in a bowl, I put the bowl on the table. You will never guess what happened when my 10-year-old son walks into the living room. If you guessed that the beads went flying everywhere, you are correct. So we had a fun game of trying to find all the beads in my living room, because the next day we were going to babysit a 2-year-old and I could not risk the 2-year-old finding the beads. So we were like frantically looking for them. Anyway, we found all the beads. I think nobody like had any incidents, at least, so that was good. I frogged the whole sweater, all the yarn got rolled into little balls, and now I am just knitting on the Monday sweater. I really like it. I think it looks very, very pretty. I'm very excited about this. The yarn is so soft and just very nice. I don't know, it's very nice. I've knit with like a lot of different drops yarns, never drops daisy. I don't know, it just never spoke to me, but this yarn is delightful. It's kind of light but soft and nice, and I don't know how this is going to hold up in the long run, but for now it's fine. It seems to be, because I did frog everything and rewound everything in balls, and now I'm re-knitting with it again, so it's already seen a little bit of agitation, but it seems to be fine with that. It doesn't seem to be sort of extra pilly or anything, so I'm happy with that. So the beads were like making me happy and doing something to the dopamine in my brain that just made me very excited. So the question now is, you know, what am I going to do with the beads? And I think I'm just going to repurpose them for different projects. And I have started a mini project for now, which is this I-cord with beads on it. It looks a bit weird now, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like with beads on it. But it's just an I-cord made from mohair, and then I'm adding beads to it. And if you're thinking, what the heck is that? Well, as you may have noticed, I have one of these fancy doodly-doo microphones, like a lot of people on YouTube have. It's because they're easy, you plug them in your phone and then it works. But there's like a clip, and you're supposed to clip them here. But if I do that, it flops over. It's super annoying. You can clip it here. That looks weird. And so there's also like these magnet systems that you can use, and then you have to like go in your shirt and like, and then you just have to like pray to the magnet gods that the thing will stay on your sweater or whatever you're wearing. And if I'm wearing a knitted sweater, there's like no way in heck that a magnet is going to stay strong enough. So I just knitted an I-cord for this thing. It's really simple. It's just an I-cord, and it's this big, and it goes over my head. And then the microphone stays in place perfectly. So if you are like someone who makes videos for YouTube and you have this type of microphone, I recommend just knitting an I-cord. And so I'm knitting another one, because I think if I have one that's like long enough, and then with like a bunch of beads on this side and a bunch of beads on this side, like high enough so that they don't like rattle the thing, but it's really colorful. And then you still have that experience of colorful beads, but they're not on the entire sweater. And you, this, like something like this, you can put it away. I think it's really, I want to make like a whole range of like little, because this one's the pink one, it's just some leftover sock yarn I was using. But you can make like a really thick one, like super plushy yarn, or like this one with beads. You could make one with sequins, just like completely like deck yourself out in I-cord. I love I-cords. You know this. I love I-cords. They're just so useful. Anyway, this is a plug, by the way, for my Charlotte cord pattern that I made this Christmas during Vlogmas, as like a this all sort of like play on the Sophie shawl, scarf and hood. You know, if you boil it down, it gets smaller and smaller. What do you end up with? It's the Sophie string. Anyway, it's a free pattern on my Ravelry. You can find it and download it. Actually, quite a few people have downloaded it, so I think you're all fantastic. In knitting, we have like a little reset button. We can, more like a backspace button, really, essentially. You can go back, you can undo the work that you did and try again. And it's not fun. It's not always fun to like rip back a sweater that you've worked on for countless hours, and you have to sit there for a long time pulling away, like pulling these threads of like work that you did, and just it's awful. And it's made even worse if you've used like sticky yarns, or if you've used you know, multiple threads at the same time of different yarns, and they're just like clumping together, and it's it's just so dreadful. You know, this project with the beads was also not fun, because I had to sort of like manage the beads and make sure that whenever I was pulling out the thread that it wasn't doubling back on itself back into the beads and turning into this massive beaded yarn monster. So that was slightly annoying, but I got there in the end. In real life, we sometimes act like every mistake is permanent, like it defines you, and we think, oh, I should have known better, or oh, I've ruined everything, or you know, this is who I am. I'm the person who messes up. And in knitting, when you make a mistake, nobody goes, you know, oh well, this project is trash, better throw away your hands. You know, you go, oh, that's annoying, and then you fix it. Or sometimes you don't fix it. Sometimes you go, you know what, this is good enough. And you just keep going. This is a mistake I can live with. And somehow your sweater still works. The world continues. Nobody calls the knitting police. No knitting jail for you. Some mistakes cannot be undone, though. You cannot frog a conversation. You cannot unsend a bad email. You cannot backspace some of life's choices. But so many things can be adjusted or reworked, reframed, continued in a different direction. Humans are not a finished project. You know, we're not a finished object. You're not a museum piece. Humans are more like a very ambitious and slightly chaotic project that's still on the needles. And yes, sometimes you'll look at what you've made and think, oh wow, this was not what I was going for. And sometimes the answer is, well, fix a small part. Sometimes the answer is, just start over. And sometimes the answer is, you know what, actually this is fine. This is a weird sweater, but it is my weird sweater. And frogging that beaded sweater kind of felt like a failure for a little bit, but really it wasn't. It was just choosing to continue in a different way. And honestly, it's kind of hopeful, because it means that we're not stuck with our mistakes. We're not defined by the first version of ourselves. We're allowed to unravel things. So yeah, let's lose perfectionism. Let's make some more weird sweaters. And remember, if it can be fixed, fix it. And if it can't, it's fine. It's just yarn. Thank you so much for watching. I wanted to remind you that I have an Instagram account where you can follow my knitting adventures or knitting mistakes. It's at Braid and Tinker. You can also find me as Braid and Tinker on Ravelry. You can also find me on Ravelry as Braid and Tinker. You can be my friend on Ravelry if you want to. I have patterns for sale on Ravelry. I have a free pattern, the I-cord called the Charlotte cord. You can find it there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye. Hello, this is Melanie from The Next Day. I'm editing. Welcome to the VIP section of this video. If you're still watching, you're a VIP. Anyway, I just wanted to pop in quickly because something funny just happened just now on Instagram. If you know Adam Cleevely, who did his Instagram thing is Cleevely Knits, and he did a podcast with Tula Pearl about, I think her name's Georgia, about they did a lot of the Game of Wool things, and he posted a video this week where he's like dressed in a tuxedo and it's like James Bond music in the background, and he was asking like, oh, do people have like name suggestions? And so people had lots of fun things, and I just popped in shaken not felted, and apparently that's the thing that he's going with. I just saw a new video just now. I'll pop it in as well.
Good evening, sir. The usual? Yes, please. 1 alpaca silk martini, shaken, not felted.
So you're welcome, Adam Cleevely, for picking my suggestion. Yeah. Those things never happen to me. Anyway, okay, bye.